The sky is falling. It's over. It's no more. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is done. It is a wrap. The MCU died at Endgame. Now, thoroughly, of course, you don't believe me when I say that bullshit, right? But I mean, apparently people have in the past, and I just want to sort of give my opinion on this whole sky is falling, Marvel Cinematic Universe narrative that's been going on, right? Because, you know, here's the thing with people saying comments like, let me see if I can find it real quick so you can have a prime example before I go into the details of this video here. Let's see, let me go way down there. This is exactly why the MCU ended at Endgame for me. Okay, fair enough, it ended at Endgame for this dude, but people kind of bring up this narrative that it died at Endgame and that nothing else is interesting after the fact, right? If that's fucking true, then why did like something like Spider-Man No Way Home, which is in phase 4, way after Endgame, made something like $1 billion? Why was Guardians 3 so successful for what it was? Why are people now deciding, because they're making this mature Echo show where there's violence, there's blood, there's stuff that people ask for? And it's like, people like, who asked for this show initially with Echo, right? It was going to be a boring character. It's going to be this ASL character that people don't care about. Now they see the violence, the blood, and the more mature tone and the mayhem coming back, because this is like being done by one of the Better Call Saul writers. They see all this and they're instantly praising it. It's like, you take off the shirt and you change your opinion and you put on a new shirt the next day, and it's like that old t-shirt didn't even matter. It is irrelevant. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because it was this whole Variety hit piece that came out on the MCU, and it was pretty damning, right? It was talking about like Marvel's in shambles. But this is why I waited, because see, my honest opinion is when they make a big and damaging hit piece, I wait like a couple of days and I see how it turns out. You have responses from people like, let's go back in the past and talk about a situation like Naughty Dog. When Jason Schreier was talking all about Factions, Factions Part 2, the multiplayer, right, for The Last of Us, and when he was talking about how that's possibly going to be delayed, Naughty Dog came out immediately and said, we have to give the game more time. So I'm like, you know, if a studio is really scrambling because of a journalistic opinion, then I would assume they would come out immediately and try to debunk that, get ahead of that immediately. If it is true, that was one instance where it happened. In this one, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait a few days, I'm gonna give it some time, then I'm gonna talk about it. Nothing happened outside of a new trailer coming out, and then guess what? People just automatically flip their brains. They flip their minds, and now the validity of this article from Variety is being questioned, because I have like some tweets here that I gathered up, and it was basically saying that you know, one of the writers, Michael Starbury, came out and said, I worked on a draft for Blade, the new movie, and we knew this movie had like writers issues, which happens to movies a lot. Sometimes you don't get it right, you scrap the script, you do it again. But this movie, and I said this before, I said that this was definitely an issue of production, where if they're on like 3 scripts, that's a lot. But now supposedly they have the writer for Logan, and the guy said, the hit piece claimed that Blade was a 4th lead in the film for a particular draft. We don't know when this draft took place. We can definitely question, oh, which draft is this? Starbury is talking about how he never seen this draft, so it might exist, but the version he wrote had Blade in it for 99%. I don't know what happened after the fact, so I guess you can kind of look at that and question and say, okay, that's a little bit weird that your version had him. They must have tried, we don't know if it's an earlier draft, or we don't know if it's like a later draft, but we have a version where Blade is a 4th lead in his own movie, and we have a version where Blade is 100% almost in the movie. So that comes out and that starts to become questionable, right? And people questioning the sources, and people also believing that it's doomsday time. I look, for the people that's like, oh well, everything's crumbling, Marvel's cooked or whatever. It's like the next day people are talking about Echo, and I think this is a product of social media and news and information and what's relevant in pop culture. So to say Marvel's done when there is a lot of praise for them now for Echo is a bit ridiculous. It's like Variety, MCU's dead. Then people thought Echo was gonna be a waste of time. Disney's gonna ruin Daredevil, and now they're making a TVMA show, which could extend to other TVMA shows. I wish it would have extended to Moon Knight, but I digress, right? That's all in the past. We're talking about the present. We're talking about the now. So as I go more into my sources and everything I gather, it's like they literally say like Mahershala Ali was in Blade for this particular draft, and I don't know what happened, but I was involved in this draft, so there you have it. And so it's like two things going on at the same time. It's like, all right, fair enough. You know, it's a hit piece is whatever, or it's what someone wrote is whatever. You can question validity or not. And then we have this person, Tatiana Siegel, who apparently has drummed up fake drama in the past for CNN, and the ridiculous claim of somehow painting Jason Momoa in a situation where he dressed like Johnny Depp to scare Amber Heard. Like, what? Why would you think of Jason Momoa in interviews, right, where he's just this wholesome guy who likes to, you know, joke around, fuck around, all that other stuff, and he just likes having fun. Like, why would he dress up as one of his co-workers' ex-husbands to frighten her and honestly play some cruel game? Like, the guy is wholesome. That's first and foremost. He's playful, but he's wholesome. So why would he do this? Why would this behavior happen? Where is images? Because of course you think about the actor dressing up and all this other stuff. Naturally there'd be some fucking image of people taking pictures of him, right? That doesn't exist. And then this is stuff about Ray Fisher. Now, I don't like Ray Fisher, right? Yeah, everyone knows I really don't like Ray Fisher, but in this puff piece that was written about him, apparently he was not reached out for comment by Tatiana Siegel, and she wrote it anyway, and he said he would have taken the comment from Siegel in that interview, but for some reason Variety wanted to post it immediately, huh? That's, you know, I don't like Ray Fisher, but that's fucked up if you have a party willing to write a puff piece on you and they clearly say, oh, he didn't really decide to comment on the entire opinion that I was making. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, I'm in Fisher's shoes, right? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm standing right here. I asked, if you asked me anytime to be part of this interview, I would have done it. You just posted it on your own accord. Okay, that's suspect. All right, you gotta question these sources. Now, My Time to Shine, I also am not the biggest fan of My Time to Shine and how they sort of just are into the Snyderverse stuff or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. The thing here is, in the Marvel spoilers thread, My Time to Shine is seen as a source that has gotten things right on a 70% rate. And they said one claim in the article when talking about Michael Starbury's opinion on Blade, the script, they said one piece of the claim debunked, and I can confirm most of what the article said in the Variety article is wrong. And I remember in the Reddit, they have a 70% rate of getting things right. They posted like before the Echo trailer that the Echo trailer was going to come out, and it did come out today. And mostly everything described about it, about the scenario being posted of Kingpin beating the guy up, and there being the child Echo in the trailer, and Matt Murdock, you know, Daredevil showing up in the trailer for a brief second. That was all accurate, said and detailed and described way before we saw it by these particular insiders. I'm starting to think this lady just wanted to drum up some sensationalized drama, just like most journalists these days. This is why I can't stand journalists, because they will make horrible light out of everything. And I think more importantly, that Variety article talking about the downfall of MCU was stuff we already knew about behind the scenes with some of the production woes. In my personal opinion, look, you can scrap a movie as much as you want behind the scenes, or do as many scripts as you want until you feel like you've gotten it right as much as you can. I feel like what is important behind the scenes and during production, because you know it's never easy making movies or making video games, as long as the final product results in something decent or good, then that's all I care about as a complete Marvel fan. Now, there's been ups and downs in Marvel. There's been movies I didn't like Thor: The Dark World, etc. Shows that probably didn't appeal to me in terms of interest. I mean, that Agatha show, I talked about that constantly. I don't even see why they're making that at all. I said this in the past. I have no idea. On all the comic podcasts I made, all the weaponized Venoms, I said I have no idea why they're making that, but at the same time, if it's decent, I'll watch it. That's how I feel. I want to understand more of the mythos as time goes on, and as a Marvel fan, I'm intrigued, just like these people that claim they're not intrigued after time and time again of saying, oh, well, they fell off, but now you're suddenly interested in Echo. Now you're suddenly interested in Loki season 2 because it's getting good. Nobody strays away from good, no matter how much they try to down and talk negatively about something. If they feel as though it's hype, you know, there's FOMO, there's fear of missing out, they're going to watch it in some capacity because it is part of nerd culture. Like, Marvel is a big part of nerd culture now. When someone made the analogy, like, this is pretty much like a lot of people's Star Wars and stuff, that they were pretty much accurate. Now, is there superhero fatigue? Yes, there is. Like, every superhero movie at the box office is not going to be a grade A stellar banger. There's always going to be movies that will be good that fails, like Suicide Squad, but you know, you could put some circumstances on that as to why the Suicide Squad sequel from James Gunn failed. But again, it is a fad. It is a fad of these movies being popular, but everything has fads. You know, 80s action movies had a fad to it in terms of varying quality and substance. Everything is a fad around us. Something also is going to catch on and be different in the next 10 years, and those people are going to be talking about that, and that's going to be the talk of the town. But to say, to make these claims, oh, the MCU's in shambles, then, oh, Echo trailer, here we go, oh, I'm liking this. It is the most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in a long time. I think personally that this universe, and like everything, like I said, the most important thing for them to do in pre-production and post-production is get it right, and that's all I care about. I feel like if you put something out and it still has all of these issues present that they're trying to fix, then that has a more lasting effect, because now it's up to public opinion at that rate, and people are either going to like it, hate it, or vice versa. It's going to vary, but it's going to be at public opinion at that rate if the movie is out. If fucking Blade took like 2 years to fix, and we don't see all the behind the scenes nonsense, that 90-page script, then it ultimately doesn't matter to me, because as long as that Logan writer gets that motherfucker entertaining, then I'm going to watch it day one, and nothing's gonna stop me otherwise. That's how I feel about it. Like, again, people gotta stop making so many vapid, preconceived, judgmental misconceptions, and they do this shit all the time. After Thor 4, MCU is dead. Werewolf by Night, MCU is back. She-Hulk, MCU is dead. Black Panther 2, MCU is back. Ant-Man 3, MCU is dead. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, MCU is back. Secret Invasion, MCU is dead. Loki Season 2, MCU is back. A fake Variety article, MCU is dead. Echo trailer, MCU is back. What the fuck is this? It's a chain reaction of imbalance. And it's like this guy said, yin and yang, you gotta find the right balance again. But as much as that's true, some people just are funny about it, and they really have these hard-pressed opinions, knowing that they're gonna fucking be there if like Daredevil's like fucking TVMA or fucking Blade is rated R, right? Because when you give somebody something that they want out of a pre-established comic book character, then that's when the tide starts to turn a little bit. You know, I wouldn't say Marvel is doomed quite yet. Until we see a complete eradication of them in the box office and on TV, then that's where the concern is lying. Is there diminishing returns on certain things? Yes. Do I think that stuff is ridiculous, like this $2 million budget on She-Hulk, when I don't think that was necessary in the first place, and you could have taken that money and maybe filed it down a little bit? Sure, because there's not a lot of action in that show, like something equivalent to, I would say, the Incredible Hulk movie that came out in 2008, I believe. That movie has a lot more action. Like that seems worthy of like a $2 million budget or higher due to all the shit that's going on with it. There is like concerns that make sense, and then there's other people that act like the sky is falling. Like, again, the stuff talked about in that article stuff we already knew, and if they're taking that feedback and fixing it, I don't give a fuck about the behind the scenes rhetoric that people come up with when they say, oh, they're in shambles. But if they fix something that is not a problem in the next like 2 or 3 years, and they actually decide to say, hey, we see all of the stuff from the Chapek era, we see all of this bloated budgets, bad visual effects, some production values that might not be that stellar here or there with the scheduling, and how they handle Jonathan Majors, because I know they have this court case coming along, and it's like, okay, what are we gonna do with Kang the Conqueror if the actor is guilty of this very charged assault case? Like, what are we gonna do with that? So I would say recast them, do what you need to do to get it done, and that's kind of how you should be as a creative mind. You're gonna have hurdles. Every franchise has hurdles here or there, whether they're justified or not, because sometimes people are complete baby garbage with some of their assessments here or there, is relative to the observer. For me personally, I think what they're doing behind the scenes, and some of these fixes you see here, where they say that, oh, now Marvel TV is gonna have showrunners, people are gonna write pilots, do show bibles, there's gonna be full-time TV execs, they're moving away from the limited series format. I can tell you this much: as I love Moon Knight, I will stand on the hill that I thought Moon Knight was great. I thought it was, but as much as I loved it, it felt abrupt. The 6 episode format needed to die so hard, and I'm so happy that they finally said, okay, this is not working anymore. This is not working. Let's decide to do something else and do a multi-season serialization. And I think that's the best circumstance. It's like, when you give me what I want more and more and more, even if it's aired out like dirty laundry, then where is the situation where I'm gonna be on this hang up and say that, oh god, they die after Endgame? You're gonna be there. Like, I even told this guy, like, look, saying they're doing just perfectly fine, everything's perfectly normal, we clearly see some problems. Like, we clearly see some problems are presented under the hood, and I'm not sure if fine is the word I use after such a dramatic restructure. I think they had issues and they needed to address them hardcore. That being said, I do agree with the sentiment that people will be there for the end results. I don't believe these folks when they say MCU ended at Endgame. I don't believe it at all. And I think these movies, I think Secret Wars, if that movie is like $1 billion, it's just like, once again, we're here at the same circumstance where people like to predict more than factually waiting for something to be developed. And you know this, you know it deep down. You can be the biggest motherfucking MCU hater of all time, but you know it deep down that is true. A lot of people like to assume before the actual developments are finalized on a problem behind the scenes. You do it with video games, you do it with movies, you do it with these pieces of media. And if they turn out to make something that is entertaining, what are you gonna say then? Like, is that? I don't think so. Like, I'd rather, like, I am of the mindset now where it's like, okay, we talk about money all the time and what makes a movie work and what it gains so it can create sequels. But the first thing still on my mind is how I like the movie as opposed to anything else, right? Money is a secondary argument in the grand scheme of things. Do I want things to continue? If I like them, sure. But at the same time, if I'm really fucking liking the film, like, once again, Suicide Squad 2, I like that movie, didn't do well at the box office, I'm going to say, hey, this movie was fucking great. Like, we're hung up over these box office claims. Like, the film was still fucking great, and no one can change my mind. That's all I have to say. And another thing too is, like, again, people talking about Loki being brilliant. If the last episode is also good, they're also going to talk about that being brilliant. Like, MCU is in the topic of conversation, whether you like it or not. It is a big part of nerd culture. And I think those saying, oh, it's dead, until it's really dead, until the conversations die down, until there's not any content coming out, until it's not profitable anymore, like bottom, like it's not even making a penny at that point, like 2 shekels, that's when a fad is truly over. But until it is, I think all people have is just baseless claims and assumptions. And the last thing is that I think a Trojan horse is being, like, set up here. Like, again, I love Endgame, I love phase 1, 2, 3 and all that, but they also had movies that went up and down as well, like I mentioned before in the past. But here's the thing, right? The well is going to be tapped again in 2025. I think 2025 is going to be the year of geek-centric things exploding, because at that point, if this whole schedule goes well, we're gonna have Fantastic Four, X-Men, we're gonna have all these properties sort of sync. It seems like Feige's big ace in the hole is gonna be X-Men, and I guess we'll see how that goes. I mean, they own Fox, we'll see how that goes. But if the highest rate gets highs, or whatever I'm trying to say at this point, if the quality gets high, then again, we will have the same discussion again in 2025. And I'm willing to see where the course stays. I think there was an assessment that Birdman made, and it was very interesting. It's like, are you still interested in MCU stuff? And personally for myself, yes, because I like seeing these adapted characters. I want to see if they can take them to the next level, and it hasn't been a phase, in my opinion, that has been across the board. See, there's different layers to saying a franchise is truly done. For me personally, it has to be the release of consistently bad products from a quality perspective, where they don't bother, they don't care about it. It has to be complete bad. While phase 4 is a very sort of experimental phase, and you could say that the phase 4 paradigm really led to something that wasn't really as organized as other phases, you can't say that every singular movie or every singular show or concept in phase 4 was bad, because that's 100% not sincere. It's just not. It's just not. You can say 5 started off rough. They admitted that Ant-Man Quantumania was really not the greatest and that it basically flopped, which is true. But again, I have to review that movie. I have to give my opinion. I have to sort of give my mindset of that movie and what I feel of it first over the whole critic judging mindset, because honestly, as everyone knows me, I could care less about Metacritic dictation. I feel that's another video entirely that I'm setting up, by the way. Shit, it's like I can talk about how the perception of Metacritic just factors into everything and how I'm just kind of like meh when it comes to my ultimate conclusion, but everyone knows how I feel about this by now. Just I need to elaborate further on that. But still, when we get constant rottens back to back to back, I think that's when it's concerning. But again, if we go through this cycle of MCU's back, MCU's not back, MCU's back, like, it's like, what are you illustrating in the first place? This trailer for Echo, them going TVMA, this is great. This is what I wanted all along. I hope this migrates to the other movies. It's like yin and yang. You do have to balance it out on occasion, and you can be fair about it as well, because some people ain't really fair. It's like, oh my god, like, look at this project that has a girl in it. It's gonna be trash, you know what I mean? And if they fucking make good, I mean, I swear to god, this could go on for eternity. But there's grifters for anything, is what I'm trying to get to. There's grifters for anything, everything, and are they right all the time? Are their opinions always the most civil-minded at times? Probably not. Probably not. But we will see how this goes. I'm still hooked in the chair, and if this really does kick off more as we progress into 2025 and as we have competition, because competition is good and we'll have James Gunn on board, then I think that's fine. It only will make the content better, and you'll always have a place to go, even if you prefer like DC or Marvel. We have nice, I think we know that there's the creatives in charge that will ultimately factor out in this whole thing, like their quality, what they bring to the table, what they do, and the projects they have next and the movies they put out is going to be an interesting competition when Superman Legacy hits. I feel that's why I said 2025 is going to be the apex point of nerd culture movies for comic book movies. That might be the peak right there, going forward from there, because we're gonna see Marvel and DC and a better DC go head to head. And as a Marvel fan, as a comic book fan in general, and you're seeing these animated shows that are great, like I watched Invincible season 2 last night. I love the first episode. Just seeing all this go back and forth, constant good comic book games like Spider-Man 2, back and forth, that's only satisfying me as a fan. Of course, there's things to fix. There's always things to fix. Always things that's gonna come up in production one way or the other. But I find that whole Marvel was done, it's quite disingenuous. They will be done when the casual audience is also done. I think that's where, once the whole breadcrumb fails from hardcore to casual, that's usually when they're done. Alright, so I'm Renegade Operative signing off. I just wanted to get this sentiment off my chest and sort of interact with you guys, the audience, and see what you possibly think about this. I just think that the whole notion of someone going out of their way and then saying, well, I think MCU died at Endgame, and then they continue to bring up phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6 stuff, possibly going into phase 7. It's just, why not have that honesty and admit you enjoy the topic of conversation, or it gives you some sort of willingness to participate, because saying otherwise is the most oddest behavior I ever witnessed. And I don't honestly get it if Marvel Cinematic Universe ended at Endgame, which was the tail end of phase 3. It ended there, but we're talking about phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6 shit. I don't understand. What do you call that behavior? Well, what is it properly called? I don't know. Is Kevin Feige like your captive? Is it Stockholm syndrome? In my honest opinion, if I don't want to be a part of something anymore, cold turkey. That's it. People will ask me questions like why, and I'll always give you the reason why I detach myself from a fandom or a piece of content, because I'm being honest. You ask me the question, I'm answering it. However, there's people that will prompt these conversations like uninvited, they will prompt these conversations, and it's like, fam, I thought you were done with the notion of Endgame, and after that you're not gonna that's it, like it's no more, it's done. But it blows my mind when people say otherwise. Like, I don't know, it's the human makeup. You know, people do contradict themselves like a lot, almost daily, and it is just so funny to see that behavior, man. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm signing out for real this time. I will see you guys next time. Later.